talk about two mechanisms of how to get out of an infinite loop. The example I want to use is the one from before. In the one before, I had a location check, it printed the statement, and it printed that statement. Maybe work out a strategy. Let's say that we're trying to build a game. Okay, if you click 3 times outside the window, you want to stop the loop. You want to exit the program. So if you come and look at the code again, it's true. It'll carry on being true all the way through. Now, mechanism 1 uses what's called a break statement. And I'll show you how that works. Now, mechanism 2, we use a Boolean variable. So first of all, let's just change this code a bit. If it's inside, let's say that we return true. Okay, and let's change the name of location to check and say, call it is inside. Okay, so if it's inside the rectangle from the previous video, and if you don't know what this refers to, please go back and build it. So we've changed that method to say is inside. Now that's returning true or false. So what we're doing is we're saying, and we're going to say, we'll call it location is the value that's going to return, and we're going to replace location check. Now you notice the code is really, really wide. If I shift it over a bit, I could probably squeeze, there we go. I can squeeze it all in. Let's change first click point just for the sake of argument and call it point top left, and change that to point bottom right. So then we can shrink the length of our code and also at the same time give ourselves some useful names to have. Oops, I seem to have written BR everywhere. Right, let's just tidy that up. So the second point is the bottom right, and that's bottom right. And so the top left is the first click point. Okay, so that's kind of squeezed our code up a bit. I run is inside. So when I click, let's say there's a game, I click, if it's inside the rectangle, it returns true. So if location is true, that's absolutely fine. But if it's false, I need to start counting how many times it's false. And if it's 3 and it's false, then I need to stop. So that's an interesting logic. So let's just call it outside count. So it's a game, right? At the moment, the outside count is 0. So as soon as I click, I check whether the location is true or false. Remember, is inside is returning true if it's inside the rectangle. That's what all those if statements mean. That's if it's outside the rectangle. Okay, so I receive the location, and if I say if the location is true, and remember I can just write if location, or I can write is true, but I'll do this just to emphasize. So if location is true, then I'm inside. So actually I don't need to worry about it, you just carry on playing the game. Okay, I'm interested in the case if it's false. And if it's false, what I want to do is I want to count, add to my count, outside count. So I do outside count plus equals 1. And then I need to check whether the outside count is greater than 1. So let's go. So we say outside count. We can do this outside of the if statement. We can do it down here. And we treat them as separate actions. So if the outside count is greater than 3, then I'm going to break the loop. So I'm going to stop running my loop. So do you see that? So I've got an infinite loop set up. I've got a count. If I click outside, right, then the outside count increments there. Then I check separately if it's greater than 3, then I'll exit. So let's test that out and see if that works. And this is the basis of a game, if you like. So let's just run that and see what that does. Okay, so first of all, let's get our rectangle. There's our rectangle. Click, 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 keep on clicking, no problem at all, no problem. Click once outside, click twice outside, click 3, right? Is it click 4? And it stopped. It came out. Strictly what I should do is close my window so you can see this demonstrated. Let's close the windows. All it did was just shift there so you didn't see it. So this is a basis of using location information to create a game of some kind. And it's quite a useful little trick to see how you interact. Let's create our rectangle. Click, 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 all the way inside, no problem. Imagine that you're playing a shoot game. Let's click outside once, twice, 3, 4. And it works. As soon as you go outside more than 3 times, it stops it. But it uses a break statement. It's got an infinite loop, and the break statement breaks the loop. Okay, so what you could do just to emphasize it is print something like this: game over, right? So let's run it again so you can just emphasize this particular thing that we're doing here, and this might inspire some of you to actually build a simple game of moving targets. Right, let's get our rectangle. Right, so there's that. We can treat it as a window and have objects moving. Right, so imagine I'm shooting up objects which are moving in that window, but I shoot outside twice, 3 times, 4, game over. So, nice little piece of code, breaks the true. That's one mechanism. Mechanism number 2 doesn't set an infinite loop. What it does is it creates an initial value. So what we call loop, let's call it loop condition, or maybe we'll call it something like a flag. We set a flag to true as a Boolean value, and then we check if that flag is true, which is the same as just asking while flag, right? And that's the same as that. I can have that or not. Now, instead of breaking when you come out of here, all I do is I turn the flag to false. So that's all it needs to do to stop looping. Let's test that out. So you have 2 parallel mechanisms, using a break or using a variable, and different programmers prefer different mechanisms. Let's click twice. There's our rectangle. So I'm clicking endlessly, no problem at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. Works in exactly the same way. What's the advantage and disadvantage? I personally think that using a flag is a better mechanism for controlling code, and you will find that this is the preferred choice for more modern developments in programming. But if you use a break, that's perfectly fine as well. The break belongs to an older culture of programming. Think about making a game out of what we've just shown you.